As you all know, I'm Davinder. And for those who don't know, I'm Davinder Pratap Singh. I'm the Executive Director at TAI Chandigarh. So I want to introduce my president, Mr. Manish Jauhar. He's also the CEO for Gracell Technologies, and he's the outgoing president for TAI Chandigarh. And I would like to welcome everyone, especially Juhi, Dave, Veena, for all the efforts done for bringing this session together. And I hope that the session will be beneficial to all of the members here. Thank you.
So thanks, TP. Very good evening to everyone, to all the panelists, the organizers from the Fairfax County, our TAI members and attendees. So I would like to welcome you all to this wonderful virtual session, which is being organized by the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, which is supported by TAI Chandigarh. This session is all possible thanks to our charter member, Satya Prab Kuthuria. I see he's logged in online today. So thanks, Satya. Satya kind of knew Juhi and the introductions worked out. And small world, Juhi is also a charter member of TAI. So fantastic, everything within the ecosystem. I would also like to welcome our panelists for this evening, Ms. Rashmi Kumar, who is VP Sales and Strategy at Systech Services Corporation, Mr. Manish Malhotra, CEO of Unisant, and who also happens to be the president of TAI DC. So thanks, Manish, for joining in. Mr. Vinay Jauhar, our TAI CM from Chandigarh, who is CEO of R Chili. And last but not least, Mr. Rajiv Rai, CEO at QA Source and an angel investor, and again, a TAI Chandigarh charter member. A quick background in terms of TAI Chandigarh is one of the 61 chapters across the world and one of the most active chapters in India. We have 70 plus CMs and around 210 plus associate members. And we are covering the entire Punjab, Haryana, and Himachal Pradesh region. Basically, anything north of Delhi comes under the purview of TAI Chandigarh. And we have a very vibrant and thriving local system. And last week, I don't know how many of you checked out, but Chandigarh was featured as the next alternate maybe to Bangalore, courtesy of Prep Ladder being a local startup being acquired for around 50 million. And these guys were stealth and silent. So lots happening in the ecosystem. And thank you once again, Juhi, for making this possible, and the entire team basically, really appreciate it. So I'll hand over the mic to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manish, so much for that nice introduction. And thank you again. I will repeat to Satya first, but also Munish and Davinder, you've been very, very supportive of our event and of all of our efforts. So for that, we appreciate you very much. And yes, having the TAI connection is absolutely fantastic, and it's really good. I'm sure Manish will agree with me, Manish Malhotra, that doing these cross-chapter events are actually very, very enjoyable for us, and it solidifies the TAI community as well. So thank you all for joining us very quickly. Bina, did we start recording yet? Thank you. I knew I would forget. So thank you all for joining us at this event. My name is Juhi Nathani, and I'm Assistant Director of International Business Investment at the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority. I'm also on the board of TAI DC, and I serve on it along with President Manish Malhotra, who's joined us today as a panel member. So I'll run through the agenda really quick. We are going to have a short presentation from me because I'm a big advocate for Fairfax County, and I want to tell all these fine companies that have joined us today why we think you should expand internationally, and if you do, why you should expand to Fairfax County, or at least put it in your consideration set. We are going to follow up that presentation with a panel discussion, and the panelists have already been introduced to you by Munish. I want you to hear from them their experiences, either expanding abroad or owning their business, and the factors that help their businesses succeed. And we will have time for audience Q&A. You might find that you're muted right now, but at the time of Q&A, everyone will have the ability to speak as well as turn their videos on. Up until that point, it just saves bandwidth to keep video off, but it's your choice entirely. So I'm going to get started. I'd like to share my screen so I can share my presentation with you. And Dave, if you can give me a thumbs up that you're able to see the screen. Okay, excellent. Oops. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about Fairfax County, which is in Northern Virginia. And I want to kick off the presentation by launching a poll. So Bina, go ahead and launch the poll if you will, please. And I'd like our audience members to tell us, have you ever been to the Washington, D.C. metro area? This includes Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C. itself. And we'll close the poll in another 10 seconds or so. Okay, looks like everybody's done. So Bina, would you share the results? So I can see that 63% of you have not, whereas a good number of you have actually been to the DC metro area. That's fantastic. And I'll tell you the reason for that question is because that's where we are. So for those of you who have been to Washington, D.C., if you have been to Dallas International Airport, you've been to Fairfax County, the very place that I'm telling you about. For those of you who have not, we are situated in a very ideal strategic location in the United States, right in the middle of the East Coast, which is called the Mid-Atlantic region of the United States. And the map there should give you some perspective in terms of, cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco on the west and where we are in the east. So we are about 15 miles west of Washington, D.C., which is the capital of the country. And that in itself is one of the biggest advantages that we have as a location for businesses and for living as well. And I'll go into a little bit more detail in the next few slides. So besides the fact that we are ideally located in the Mid-Atlantic, there are a number of advantages of being in Fairfax County. So the location itself gives you access to 2/3 of the world's largest market, which is the United States, within a 2-hour flight from where we are. So that's definitely one of the reasons that businesses choose Fairfax County. In addition, we have a very highly skilled workforce. In fact, the number of educated, skilled workers in our area, and when I say our area, I'm referring to the Washington, D.C. metro area, are more educated than the average of the United States as well. We have a number of sources of capital, and this is probably something that Rajiv would recognize, even though he is based on the West Coast, that the diversity in the sources of capital for a business are a driving factor in success of that business. So if you look at the various points on the slide right now, that is the reason that we have a very dynamic, diverse, and international business community. And I will show you what I mean by that. By evidence. I will end this presentation by telling you a little bit about the quality of life in Fairfax County as well. So to give you an idea of what kind of companies are in Fairfax County, we are home to 11 Fortune 500 headquarters. That's more than 30 other states or Washington, D.C. can claim for themselves. So we're very proud of our list of Fortune 500 companies that are in Fairfax County, and you can see their names right there. In fact, this year was our the 11th company. It used to be 10 for a long time, and then Leidos joined the list, and we were proud that we are the choice location for Leidos headquarters as well, along with these other companies. If you go on to looking at the kinds of businesses that are in Fairfax County, this tells you what we're known for. We have a lot of businesses that are tech businesses. And you must be familiar with a number of names up on the screen right now. So tech companies choose this area as their location. And going back to location advantages, I think I have to add infrastructure to that as well. So the availability of connectivity, the availability of physical infrastructure for businesses to operate is key as well. And that's what brings these companies into Fairfax County. If you look towards the right of the screen, it gives you the demographic breakup of businesses. So close to 9,000 tech companies operate here. 1 in 4 jobs is a tech job. And professional services make up the largest segment of employment in Fairfax County. So I'll just take a quick break and tell you about Fairfax County in general. It's the largest county by population in Virginia. It's not large compared to India, but we have a little over 1 million people in Fairfax County. It is a reasonably large county by area as well, 400 miles square. And the reason, or that is those are the driving factors for the diversity and the availability of talent, and the connectivity and infrastructure is the reason for the technological prowess of the county. Just making sure I keep my time here. I said that we have a very diverse, dynamic, international business community. Again, I want to point out on this slide that a number of countries in the world are represented here. And you'll find not only companies from Europe, but also from Japan and Korea and Israel, and of course, India, that are located in Fairfax County. And when it comes to Indian companies, we have about 30 or so Indian companies that have presence in Fairfax County, and most of them are in the information technology business. And I'm happy to talk more about those in detail another time. If you look at the key industries, information technology for sure rules the kinds of businesses that exist in Fairfax County. I want to take another poll here, if I may. I know that a number of you, if not all of you, are IT companies, either in services or products or a combination of those. Can I ask, Bina, if you can launch the second poll, can I ask how much of your business or revenue comes from the US right now? How much of your business comes from the United States right now? I'm seeing the answers come in, and they do not come as any surprise. So if we can share the results, Bina, 75% or more for most of you, businesses already coming from the United States. And if most of you are in the IT world, then obviously a lot of this business is coming from areas where there are other needs for the same kind of services. So on the screen in front of you, you see what we are known for. Certainly, I already talked about corporate headquarters. We are a choice location, and perhaps being right next door to the federal government is a big factor in companies choosing us as their headquarter. But look at the diversity of industry as well, in defense and aerospace, telecommunications, financial services, life sciences, telemedicine, medical devices, and then information technology, or even in these areas, IT is a key component of business generation, economic activity, and revenue generation in Fairfax County. We are seeing, as you are as well, I mean, in India and in Chandigarh specifically, that there is a lot of push towards emerging technologies. So those exist in Fairfax County as well. I'm sure all of these names, they're buzzwords for today, so I'm sure you're familiar with them, but we're seeing a lot of activity. And in my previous slide, I had talked about innovation being part of the ecosystem that we live in. A lot of new technologies that are emerging here in Fairfax County, and so in a way, it's competitive, and that leads to even more innovation. And finally, I do want to talk about quality of life. It's one thing to do good business in a location. It's another thing to have other things outside of business that are good to do. So aside from the fact that we have a very robust business and economic ecosystem, we do have a number of recreational activities for people who live here. I'm a Fairfax County resident myself. I have 2 school-going children. I am very, very pleased with the quality of the school system. It's the 10th largest district in the nation. But aside from that, one, the proximity of DC gives us history and culture that we have access to. So it's always nice to be near a big city. And then the other thing is what exists within Fairfax County itself, whether it is, the museums or outdoor activities in parks and recreation or just nature. All of these are actual pictures from different locations in Fairfax County. So what I'm presenting to you is an area that that encompasses not just the ability to gain from doing business, but also to live and play. Speaking of Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, at the county level, we are one of the few that actually have presence in other countries of the world. And these are areas which we think are very similar in profile to ours in terms of business or the ability of generating business in the industries that we are interested in. So we do have an India office. And the director of the India office is in Mumbai, Ashish Mehta. I know he's joined us and you will see him a little later. And the manager for the India office is in Bangalore, that's Dave Malik. And some of you saw Beena Jain earlier. Beena is the business investment associate who's also located in Mumbai along with Ashish. So we see the importance of having a local office, having an on-ground presence so that companies can reach out to us. And all we do at Fairfax County EDA is that we attract and retain business investment into the county. We offer a suite of free and confidential services to any company that's looking to get more information about expansion into Fairfax County, and we are happy to support their expansion. So that, in a nutshell, is who we are. Again, I wanted to keep my presentation brief. I want us to get right into the panel, and I want you to hear from others about their business experiences. But my contact information is here for you. And of course, you will hear from my colleague Dave Malik later, and he will share his contact information as well. And he is going to reiterate this at the end. But if any company here today is interested in having a one-on-one conversation with us to learn a little bit more in depth about Fairfax County, we do have dates and times set aside for that as a follow-up meeting. I know Chandigarh has their AGM coming up. Is it this weekend, Davinder? I think it's this weekend, and that's when the transition to next leadership is going to happen. And so we want to give you time, and next week we'll have a couple of dates for you to have one-on-one conversations with us. So feel free to reach out to us at any time. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to let the panelists start getting ready, but I want to launch a third poll. Beena, if you don't mind launching the third poll that we have for the audience. Love your response to this. Are you currently expecting to expand to the United States? So a number of you are answering that you already have presence there. Some of you are interested, and some of you not, which is great. So for those companies that are interested, we are really happy to provide you with additional resources. And I want to make it clear that for us, it's not just about providing resources for companies that only want to move to Fairfax County. If you want to know more about the United States, if you want to know more about how different areas compare. In fact, we have two entrepreneurs from the West Coast here, so I'm sure they will share their perspective as well. But we are happy to provide you comparative information as well. Some of you who already have a presence in the United States may have a virtual office, and we encourage you to take the next step and actually have physical representation there and benefit from having a local presence. So with that, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to end my presentation, and I would like to welcome all four panelists. Please make sure that your audio is working. I think it is. And I will have you introduce yourself, starting with Rashmi. Please tell us, each of you, a little bit about yourself, your company, where you operate, and what kind of business you're in.
All right. Thanks, Juhi. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Rashmi, as I've been introduced so far, and I represent Systech Services Corporation, and we are into IT consulting and managed services. And as my background says, we are in the business of securing you and your data and your IT. And yeah, I think that's a short introduction for me. And we have been in Fairfax for almost a year now. We established in January 2019. Just like everybody, we also went through a long process of decision making, finalized. I think we took about 18 months. It's just like how if you're a father or if you're a parent, it's how you have to look for a possible alliance and how much of background check that you do to give your daughter to another guy. So I think that's exactly what we also did. We took about 18 months. We finalized 5 different locations, and then finally finalized Fairfax, and then we established in Jan 2019. And things have been going good, and I'll probably share furthermore, and keeping time in mind. So that's a little bit about us.
Vinay, how about you?
Sure. So myself, Vinay, I'm a CEO at Archely. I tell you about Archely is like we enhance recruitment processes by improving candidate experience by 85% and recruiter experience by 80% through our proprietary AI and NLP algorithms what we have. The journey so far, yes, I came to US almost around 6 years back, based out of California. The reason choose California was when we moved here to US, so my, let's say 47% customer was in California. So I want to say closer to the customer, and that's what we did it. And indeed, afterwards, journey is wonderful, wonderful. We find growth potential here, the knowledge here, the skills. Today, I'm proud that it's not only California we have like team members working with us. It is across the nation. Now it is getting into North America zone slowly, expanding. And yes, if people are considering US, stop considering, start executing. That's why I always say there's no other alternative to that. If your revenue is coming, like at that time, my almost around 60% revenue was from US. If that's the case, go ahead, start working in the US. There's no other option. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Vinay, for that. And we, of course, hope your next expansion in the United States will be to the East Coast and specifically to Fairfax County. We have a note from an audience member. They're saying they were not able to hear you very well. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe your microphone settings, maybe increase the volume there if that helps.
Sure.
What about you, Rajiv?
Oh, great. Well, let's do an audio check first. If you can hear me, go show me thumbs up, please.
Yes, I can hear you.
2 thumbs up, yeah.
I need to wake up. That's what I'm trying to say here. Right? So my journey, I'm an engineer by trade. I landed in California because I came here to do my undergrad. I landed in Berkeley, never left. Frankly, that seems to be the best place in the United States. If I may disagree, but that's what I like. I'm an engineer by trade, but I'm an entrepreneur by choice. I started my career at Apple. I was fairly young, about 24, when I left Apple to start my first company, built it, sold it. Since then, invested into companies. And I've been running now Vivo Technologies for the past 17 years. This is a company that provides engineering services to a variety of companies here in the United States, really. We can get more into this when you talk about geographies and all those things. I'll answer those questions, why we're here. We're spread across India, Mexico, and US. We made intentional decisions to go to each location we went to. When we went to Chandigarh, that was an intentional decision. When we went to Mexico, that was an intentional decision. We can talk about, by the way, your presentation was great. A lot of the things that you talk about those are the exact things we look for, but I can give you my personal stories as well. So that's what we do. And what my passion really is to eliminate generational poverty through education in India. So that's kind of like where I thrive, what I want to do. So if anybody's looking to expand in the United States, I'll encourage you. US is an awesome place in terms of education, opportunities, capital, infrastructure. Please ignore our current politics. It's just, just don't even worry about it. And, we're not going to hell, the country is thriving and growing, and I welcome you in here as well. So that's a little bit about me. Okay.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. I just want to add that I think since you said your passion is to encourage education in India, I think that's yet another reason that's corporate social responsibility and the added revenue gives you the ability to support programs back home. I'm sure Manish, you can chime in with, we just were at the Pratham Gala, so you can chime in about how much people are doing to support the infrastructure back home by being here. And last but not least, Manish.
Thanks, Joey. Again, excellent presentation. I would like to echo that. It was an excellent pitch for Fairfax County. Now, I'm a resident of Fairfax County myself, and I'm on my third company, and all three have been in Fairfax County. So first and foremost, I represent Thai DC. I'm the current chapter president. So again, if any one of you is looking for further help, more than what Juhi has offered, from a Thai DC chapter, we can provide you that network also. About myself, so I'm here representing two things. First, my own company, Unisant, which is now my current company based in Fairfax County. We're a pure defense and health contracting company. My primary customer is US Defense, and been doing it for almost 12 years now, and have gained a lot from this government contracting proximity that Juhi just spoke about, right? Being very, very close to Washington, DC. So we'll get into what my company does. And then second, why I'm here is also representing CIT, which is the Center for Innovative Technologies. I actually sit on the board of that state-run organization where we provide funding to companies that are moving into Virginia. Now, I have to say Virginia technically because CIT is available for all of Virginians, but our offices were based in Fairfax County from the last 2 decades. So, I'll get into a little bit more about CIT and how we operate and how we can support you as you think about transitioning into Fairfax County or Virginia in general. So.
Thank you, Manish, and thanks for that offer of the Thai DC network as well. I'm sure that is appealing to a lot of the CMs here, and do talk about some of the upcoming events later on as we progress in the panel. So I'm sure you all noticed that I didn't mention the word COVID even once during the start or during my presentation, but I am going to do it now. And I want to ask each of the panelists what their opinion is in terms of the impact of the pandemic on their business and well, business in general, but specifically on yours. So Rajiv, how about we start with you?
Great, thank you. First of all, COVID affects everyone. Personally, really, it affects me more at an emotional level. We're in the tech space. It's been a mixed bag for us. Some of them are, companies are thriving, and the majority of them are thriving. Others have been hurt badly. For all the companies that allowed their clients to work or employees to collaborate remotely, companies such as Zoom, DocuSign, Box, Slack, or in the medical field, companies like Teladoc, or education companies, such as K-12, Learn, So to power schools, those companies have done remarkably well. But if you are in a technology company who was focused in the travel space, you were focused in the entertainment space. By the way, I have clients in all of those: travel space, entertainment space, airlines, cruise line. Those are done really, really poorly, right? And they're not doing well. So it's been a mixed bag from that standpoint. really, I mean, so how are the companies going to continue to do? In my view, I think the technology companies will continue to do well. However, the demand is going to be challenging. You know, where right now the stimulus is huge, right? I mean, we don't know. I can't really predict that. You know, stimulus is there, but would there be growth with the rising unemployment, decreasing demand, availability of disposable income, right? You know, when I start to look down, a lot of the restaurants, you know, where I'm at, a lot of the small businesses, I feel really bad for them. They're just going out of business. You know, yesterday, a guy who cut my hair for the last 32 years is out of business because he can't really hasn't been able to operate. Seriously. And that's kind of crazy. So the impact of COVID-19, I think if we think is not going to have an impact, we're mistaken. I think it will be there right now. Being in the US, I think we're in a sort of a bubble. Being in the technology space, we don't see it. But overall, I think it's hurt a lot of people. So, I mean, that's kind of like where I see where COVID is going. I think it's gonna, the impact will be there for years, but you know, we're resilient, right? What they say is that it's not the strongest who survives, it's not the fastest who survives, it's the one who adopts is the one who survives, right? So we as a company, you know, can you imagine in India, being able to work from home? We have 800 employees, you know, and now everybody's producing. So it has really taught us a lot how to adopt. So I always take any tragedy as an opportunity. You know, there's challenges, there are opportunities, but we learn to adapt to those challenges and we avail the opportunities. So that's really where I'm at from COVID standpoint.
Yeah, that's well said. And, you know, this is something that we've been hearing, at least in our business community as well, that as tech businesses, they're not severely impacted, but there are other businesses that use technology and that there are going to be ripple effects and, you know, after effects that stay a lot longer than the pandemic will, which is what concerns people. Actually, I'm going to ask Rashmi to maybe give her viewpoint as well. And from the point of view of your operations in Bangalore too, you know, how do you compare the two businesses here as well as there? They're both in tech, but how has the pandemic affected you specifically?
Well, I completely agree with Rajiv. Yes, the pandemic has affected all of us, but I think it has also given us a lot of positives that, to think again and re-strategize ourselves and also take it as an opportunity. For us, I think one of the plus points, what I would really like to highlight here is that, yes, challenges are there and sustenance was the mode of for every one of us in the last 3 months to work on. But I think the plus point of being here or a business in the United States during pandemic is the support that the government has given to the small businesses. And I think with a lot of grants that the county has run and small, medium businesses, SBA loans and all the support system that's there, that's pretty good. And that has actually helped all businesses and entrepreneurs and small businesses like ours to at least sustain and take the ship forward. Comparing businesses and comparing operations in Bangalore and the United States, I think yes, Bangalore initially was good, and I'm sure all of you know that the pandemic is increasing in Bangalore right now. But at the same time, yes, I think things were not very good as well. But however, we have been able to sustain and take it forward. So yes, for technology companies, it nothing really went bad, but it took a slow path. That's what I would like to say.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And Rajiv mentioned the word resilient, and although I'm getting tired of this word, I will say that our region, Fairfax County, is also a very resilient economy. You know, we've faced a few downturns, including the 2008 crash, and we've come out strong even despite those. And one of the big things is what Manish mentioned earlier, just having the hand of the federal government over you. Government contracting constitutes a huge portion of Fairfax County business income and revenue. And that's why it continues to stay resilient, because the federal government just happens to be the largest customer in the whole wide world. And because our businesses cater to it, we see that we continue to tide through these ups and downs in the economic process. I'm going to move on to the next question, and I want to ask Manish. You said you've been operating in this area and this is your third company. So you've been here a while, you've been doing this a while. What would you say about the business ecosystem where you operate, and how much of a role has that played in your business success?
Yeah, so let me first build upon what Rajiv and Rashmi said about this area, Juhi. I completely agree. One of the reasons I'm on my third business, and all three have been in Fairfax County, is the fact that we have proximity to the federal government, to Washington, D.C. That pretty much makes this area recession proof. Honestly, even in the last recession, we didn't see it, right? Now, as Virginia itself, we see Amazon HQ2 moving in here, so they're adding another 100,000 jobs. So, that's what is going on. Second thing is the GovCon businesses itself have not been affected that much. And we've had these discussions even in TIE DC panels. We've not been affected as much with the pandemic, just because the government spending has gone up actually. Now, coming back to Fairfax County, in terms of infrastructure and the services that we get, one of the reasons is FCEDA, right? I mean, when I was looking for every business, even my current business, when I was looking for rental space, right? We had a report free of charge given to us by FCEDA, who did a complete scan of the area and saying, here are the areas, here are your rental things, here are some subleases that are available if you guys have wanted, and here is some assistance if you want to get a particular office space. Right now, I've not seen of many counties going out of the way helping businesses do all that, right? So that's one thing. Second thing is obviously, the business tax rates in Fairfax County, and there are many things that come together, right? The infrastructure, of course, is there, the commutability, the mobility, everything is just excellent or above par than other counties that I've seen. So, that is one of the reasons why I stick with Fairfax County for the most part, and Virginia for the most part.
Thanks, Manish. And I just want everyone to know, I did not pay Manish to say all of that.
Yeah, I know.
Those are,
you did not. I know.
That's his opinion entirely.
Yes. Yes.
But so why don't we get Vinay's opinion? Because you are on the West Coast, tell us a little bit about the business infrastructure there that, makes it possible for your business to succeed.
Sure. So I'll start my journey with a TIE. So that's where I started with when I entered in California. So TIE Silicon Valley welcomed me. First checking, audio is correct now. Is it all good?
It's very good. Thank you. Yeah.
So, but yes, later on, the ecosystem, what we got around me, maybe it is a rental spaces, maybe it is a government services, maybe it is a clearances we need, maybe it is expansion, like you start with a small and then suddenly you realize, okay, I need a bigger one, no, I need a smaller one. The flexibility you have, the ecosystem of customers around you, the knowledge, the skill set. As an entrepreneur, even I need a mentors, right? I need advisors for me. It's not only people need it. So it is a beautiful ecosystem we have, networking events we have, and that has constituted a lot for me to grow from where I entered here and now where I am. When I say that today we have a customer base in 33 countries, and when I entered here, I have a customer base in 3 countries. So it is an enormous journey you can think of. The way it is done, and it is all due to government supports us, the ecosystem supports us, the skills you want to get it, like you have it in 3-4 hours. You don't have to wait for 10, 15, 20 days. It is 3-4 hours. You have somewhere in nationwide, somewhere is working. And the beauty one, I just take an example recently. So we hired few sales guys, and now we have to send them infrastructure. And the best part is go to Amazon, order and ship them directly. And we hired him on Friday, and Monday the infrastructure is with him and he's productive. So that's a beauty which you can think of this country has to offer, or this region has to offer you. And we love it. Like that's what I said. That gives me a freedom to focus on business, not on this small admin issues.
And that is so important, so that you can just stay focused on the core of your business rather than have to worry about admin processes and all. So I'm going to ask Rashmi this, and then maybe Rajiv and Vinay can chime in as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey as it pertains to site selection? And I'm asking Rashmi first because you said you had 5 different places that you were considering going to, and thank you so much for picking Fairfax County. But tell us a little bit about that process and what goes through your mind as an entrepreneur, when you're making those kind of decisions.
All right. Yes, that's right. We had 5 different choices, but then Fairfax, I think, became a chosen place for us because of the support that we got from FCEDA. And of course, definitely Juhi, no doubts about it. So on a lighter note, when everybody says for people who understand Hindi, like the dialogue from Mr. Bachchan, which says, मेरे पास बंगला है, गाड़ी है, ऐसा है. I would probably say, if that's all businesses say, then I would probably say, मेरे पास जूही है. So that's how it is. Because I think one of the biggest challenges that we had business, we knew what's the investment that needs to be done. We knew what's the business, how to acquire customers. But then the biggest challenge we had is connect, and also the actual ground reality and what's happening here, how to connect with new customers. And that was a big challenge for us. And we had lots of questions. We took, as I told you earlier, we took almost 18 months to decide which place we want to establish. And it was with a lot of questions. We wanted to get an answer for each and every smallest things. I remember that we had asked Juhi to even help us with companies who have recently moved, who have moved in the past, and how they've been doing, and what are the 5 customers you can help us with, who are the connects that you can help us with. I think all of these questions were promptly answered by EDA. And for me, EDA means Juhi at this point in time. So because she is the only person who I call and wake up and disturb all the time for each and every need of it. In fact, even to find a place for me to stay, I think it's her who I disturbed. I took her opinion. I took all the support that she can give. And that is exactly what you need when you really want to establish a business at a new place. Somebody who knows the region very well, somebody who can guide you, somebody who can help you in your decision-making process, and who can give you all the necessary support that you need in terms of a growing business, in terms of locality, in terms of, I mean, when you establish a new business, the key things that you need, your bank, your taxes, and customers again, yes, they can at least I know that for a matter of fact that in Fairfax, whichever business is there, if I ask EDA, if you know anybody in this particular company, if you can connect me, they would definitely do that as well. So that way, I think if you have a huge list of A to Z that you have to think of, and before you establish your business at EDA, Fairfax or any other place, I think the list was promptly answered to us. And that's one of the key things that, or the resources that you have here that which actually helped us in making this move. And last year and a half has been a very, very nice journey for us. And each and every step we take, or each and every success we have, I think Juhi is the first person who gets informed about it also. And we do that. And EDA doesn't stop you there. At any point in time, if they see an opportunity, they will again call you and let you know, okay, this is something probably you could think of. And that way, I think it's a lot of support that you get, and that we have got. We've been lucky enough. And thanks to Juhi for that.
Thank you, Rashmi. That's very kind of you. I do want to state something here. Of course, I've known Rashmi since the time that they started to think about going to Fairfax County. It's been, I think, 3 or 4 years since we've had the association per se. But all that Rashmi is saying is true. But I have to put a disclaimer here. What we do is point companies to the right direction. After that, it is really up to the company to take the initiative and do those things themselves. So I have to give kudos to Rashmi because, she's been extremely active. She joined 500 meetup groups and she networks like crazy. I don't do that on her behalf. All I can do is tell her that, hey, this is a list of things that are available. Now, which of those you choose to pursue is entirely up to you as a business. And, and it's the commitment. Rashmi, I know you're VP sales and strategy, and so you have a vested interest there, but it is really your commitment to making the business succeed, because on the ground, you have to do the work yourself. We don't claim to do the work for you. Just want to make that clear. So Rajiv, Vinay, do you have something to add to that from your perspective in terms of site selection?
I can add if you like. We recently moved over to Mexico. We started an operation in Mexico about 2.5 years ago. I echo a lot of what Rashmi says. Also, I agree. It's not what you know, it's who you know makes a huge difference. I agree to that part as well. However, I think I'm going to go a little bit back. How did we choose Mexico? I think if you are, as a business, you are looking to grow, you're looking to make a site selection, I think it's super important for you to really understand what problem are you trying to solve. I think that's really the most important part. For us, what problem we were trying to solve was many of our clients were getting tired of working with India at night. They're like, hey, we need to have a location that's closer to us in a similar time zone, right? Similar time zone, that was the first thing they said. So we took that problem, we look at it, what are the places we can go to in a similar time zone? We looked at Colombia, we looked at Brazil, Argentina, we look at Costa Rica and Mexico. You start to break it down on where do you want to go? So, site selection, we had a criteria. By the way, similar criteria applied to Chandigarh when we use this criteria. We have been using this criteria for the longest time. And a lot of the things that you said, right? Do we have talent availability? That's the super important part. First of all, is it a safe place to go do business at? And is it a safe place for us to go, our customers to go? Is there talent available? Is there accessibility? Is there infrastructure available? What is the cost of doing business? Is there support? Kind of like, is there a Juhi available everywhere, right? Is there a quality of life available for people? You have infrastructure, whether it's power, internet, transportation, all of those things, right? So we looked at all of those things when we looked at like, hey, Brazil was ruled out because it's a 16-hour flight. Argentina for the same reasons. It will take a long time for us to get there. Costa Rica, great place. I was ruled out because they only produced 3,000 engineers a year. And when we looked at all of those things, then we, settled on Mexico. Even in Mexico, you look at it, where do you want to be? Because you hear people, Mexico is dangerous. Well, really not. I've been going there for 3 years. I drive there. Mexico is great. Not promoting Mexico, by the way. I think the things that we're talking about, right? You look at that, and then you choose which place is safest for your people. You have talent available, you have support. I think when you look at those challenges, accessibility, like right now, Mexico is only 2 hour of time difference. You can fly there within 3 hours. I think those are the most important part for us when we look at site selection, quality of life for our people. I think that's really important. That's how we ended up going to Mexico. By the way, for Chandigarh people, please do contact me if you have any questions. We chose deliberate Chandigarh as well. It was for a variety, so same exact reasons. We could have gone to Bangalore, Delhi. We didn't. So I think my advice would be is when you're looking to expand your business, look at it. What is the problem you're trying to solve? Are you looking for more customers? Are you looking for more talent? For us, we do zero business in India. We do zero business in Mexico. But we chose those places because with talent availability, cost of doing business, ease of doing business, I think those are the most important part for us.
And I'll just add to the point you made about time difference. I think, a lot of people don't think about it, but it makes a huge difference. Even for us, we compare better to the West Coast. Like I mentioned before, Vinay and Rajiv were up at 5 a.m., but for us, it was 8 o'clock. So when it comes to time difference with India, the East Coast is actually slightly more favorable. My my team is here, and we are able to find a decent time for all of us to actually meet live. So time difference does make a huge difference. Vinay, please.
Sure. So I resonate Rajiv what said, like what problem you're trying to solve. So when we were making a choice, so my problem was different. My problem was getting closer to the customer. Being a product company, and I'm focusing on enterprises. So enterprise has a lot of roadblocks coming up when you want to sell to them. So I said, okay, I want to stay closer to my customers, and choice was very simple: San Francisco. And there's no other choice needed because 47% revenue come from that particular one city, and then rest 37 all across the world. So it is a huge difference was there. And today I can say that yes, what problem you're solving? Is it only client saying close to customer or delivery to the customer? And end of the day, customer is your CEO, right? It's not you are a CEO. Deliver what they want to do. And that is what we did at that time. Even the new office which is coming up now in Oceanic region, that is again because we have seen that, okay, outside US, that's another country which is now like coming up, and we have almost around 18% revenue coming from that. I said, let us focus on that country. Let us get into that whole system before anybody else see that as an opportunity. We should enter there. And that's the simple decision we have.
I think you make a really good point, Vinay, about timing, right? Timing is key as well. You want to seize the opportunity as soon as it becomes available. So I will ask one last question. I want to open up the floor to the audience, but in the interest of time, please go ahead and pose your questions in the chat box. My colleagues, Bina and Dave, will be monitoring it, and we'll make sure your questions are addressed. And this, my final question is specifically to Manish and Rajiv, and it has to do with funding. Rajiv, answer this one with your investor hat on. And Manish, we'll start with you. And I do want you to talk about, I mentioned diverse sources of capital, but what do you consider diverse sources of capital, and how do you see the capital or funding being a driving force behind business?
Yeah, I mean, especially for companies or people who are logged in, and if they have startups and they have products and they're looking to move to the US and looking for funding, one of the areas where we can support right here in Virginia, and again, I'm using Virginia, but we are based in Fairfax County, is we have state funding available to startup companies. There are 3 funds that we run. In fact, CIT, or Center for Innovative Technologies, is considered as one of the biggest VCs in the Virginia area by CB Insights. So one of the funds we have available is called the GAP Fund. We've invested about 29 million so far in about 223 startups. So if you are a startup trying to move to the Virginia area, let us know, let the TIDC chapter know, connect with us, and we'll connect you to CIT, right? So you can go through that. Another thing is for women-owned entrepreneurs or minority entrepreneurs, and this is true no matter where you are. If you set up a shop in Virginia, you have funding available through something known as Virginia Founders Fund. Again, it is governed and managed by CIT, but it's specifically available for minorities. VFF, some of the companies, one of the main thing with VFF is that not only will we try to get you the initial seed money, which can be from $50,000 to $250,000, we also connect you with private capital, larger private capital companies and all that stuff. And, our companies have gone and gotten almost 1 billion in funding beyond just the CIT support and all that. The last one that we have, so if you are like Juhi mentioned that, Fairfax is also a very big hub for innovation, right? So if you are in the unmanned space, drone, emerging tech, all that, we have a separate fund for that called as the CCF, or the Commonwealth Commercialization Fund, where we'll take your initial idea, fund it, and teach you or kind of guide you through how to commercialize that by obviously giving you funding and assigning mentors and all that stuff. So these are the 3 areas the state itself can help you if you had to move to the Virginia area. So I'll let Rajiv also give him some time.
Oh, thanks, Manish. Oh, by the way, those are great. That's one of the big reasons why we're in the US. There are so many diverse resources of funding, and those are not just resources. They actually give you money. You don't really have to do anything. People really help you out. CIT, BFF, I mean, I'm familiar with both of those. I think those are awesome. People should look into that. So for me, I mean, I don't really work with the government funding. I'm more of a private capital guy. So again, I think it's there are funding sources are going to depend on what stage of your company you are in at that time, and you'll have to look at that source of capital. And also what do you need to grow? You know, capital is sometimes you know, being in the valley here, I'm sure Vinay would agree, capital is cheap here. I mean, funding sources are tremendous, right? Capital is cheap, but are you really looking for dumb money? You're looking for smart money, really. I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? I mean, you're looking for people who are going to give you money, but also open doors for you, open network door for you, provide mentorship, provide guidance. Are you those type of people, or you just need money? So I think it's going to depend on you for the sources. In the US, or I'm sure in India as well, I'm not as familiar with Indian funding sources. Type of business, stage of your business, your personal goals, I think those are important. And every funding alternative is going to have an opportunity, cost attached to it. Really early stage, you know, you could do, there's Kickstarter campaigns. I mean, believe it or not, in the US, you could just go up online, put up your product, idea, video, and you get money, right? And people will fund you before you even build a product. Plenty of angel investors. You can go in, you know, Chandigarh Angel Network is there. There's angel.co. You guys can go ahead, and we invest through that as well in many of those companies. If you're, you know, that's another source for you to do that. If you wanted to, if you're a mature business, and you have receivables available where, you know, you don't have to give any equity out. You could just get money against your receivables. I mean, that's another funding source available to you. You know, obviously the people talk about VCs and all of that. I mean, that's your game. That's not my gig, because VCs, you know, for me, they're, you know, I hope no VC on call here. You know, they suck the blood out of you. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, go to VC. You know, that how much equity you're willing to give up, what your idea is, how much control you're willing to give up. I think you got to keep all of those things in mind. Various funding sources available, depending on what stage of the company you are available. I think that what stage of the company you are at any given time, the source will apply to you. In the interest of time, I'll stop, but I'm happy to answer questions. Please send me an email, whoever is here on funding. We invest into lots of companies through angel, through LP, through VCs, and happy to answer those questions.
Thanks, Rajiv. And you know, you brought up your contact information. I'm sure many participants would like some sort of contact information for all of our panelists. So if you don't mind sharing that with us, what you would like us to share with them. And as a follow-up to the event, we'll send you a link to the recording, as well as the presentation I made and contact information from the panelists as they choose. So we can handle that later. You know, you both mentioned public and private funding. There's also what I think traditional funding, right? And this is when you're established. Manish, I'm going to go back to your established, and now you want to scale your business or grow your business, and you don't want to give up control. All you need is a bank loan, right? Let's not forget that as well. As a seasoned entrepreneur, in fact, we're working with a company right now, and we mentioned all these sources of capital, and they're like, no, just give me a bank that'll loan me 10 million bucks. You know, that's what I need. So funding can be in that sense as well. And another source that I see companies using a lot is mergers. You know, you combine two companies together to get complementary resource or access to complementary resources. And Rashmi, if I remember correctly, that was one of the things that worked for you as a company. Would you mind telling us about it?
Yes. Yes, definitely. So Systech, so I used to run a company called Agni Information Systems, and we were in cybersecurity. And yes, we have a product ready, and we were looking for investment. We were looking for taking that big step and growing big and getting the product up in the market. And that's when after many presentations and on many pitches, and that's when Systech Systech opened the doors for us, and that's when we underwent merger. We were a 20-member team, and with the merger, we became a 200-member team. And We were serving customers in the North American region, being in India, but then with the bigger company, with a stronger company, we were able to move here and establish here and set up the whole business here. Yes, mergers, yes, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, mergers is one of the way to grow big and get access to the bigger picture that you're looking for.
Okay, great, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Again, participants, I would request you to put in your questions in the chat box, or now you have the ability to unmute yourselves. Please feel free to start your videos, unmute yourself. If you have a question for the panelists, please ask it now. And while, yes, go ahead, Uttam. Okay, I don't think that was a question for the panelists. So anyone else, if you have a question for the panelists, either put it in the chat box, you can turn your video on and raise your hand so we can see you and call on you. But in the meantime, I'll also ask the panelists, are there any final thoughts that you want to share with the audience? How about we let Vikas go with his question first, and then we'll come back to your final thoughts. Vikas.
Hi. So just wanted to ask, so we were hearing about a lot of businesses which are happening in the US and the companies being formed in the US. So, so as of now, so we are looking at forming a company which might be supporting the business in other countries also. So are we okay with that, or we only want to use US as the base for and serving US customers only?
I can answer that. Actually, we have a number of companies that choose to come to the US from the Middle East, for example, but they want to serve their European customers. And the reason they come to the US is because they like to have the Made in USA stamp, you know. So absolutely no restriction at all to where your customers are located. At least what we are offering in Fairfax County or Northern Virginia is an ideal location for you to reach your customer no matter where they are. One of the things that I perhaps neglected to mention specifically about connectivity is that we have 3 international airports within, a 15-20 mile radius of us. So not just catering to your customers in the US, but anywhere in the world, really. Do any of the other panelists have questions about it? I mean, they all mentioned they have customers outside of the US. Vinay, please.
I just want to add to Vikas that Vikas, I share my example. Last year, I was in Boston when somebody told me that, Vinay, you need to go to Sydney. I was in Boston and I have a meeting in Maryland, and I said, okay, let me finish my meeting in Baltimore and I'll take a flight. My passport started from California and it reached to my hotel. I reached from Boston to Maryland hotel. I had a meeting there, and by like 5 p.m. I taken a flight which takes me to LA and then straight to Sydney. This is only possible when you want to be that mobile. Answering your question, no, it is a global. US has one of the countries I've seen that is the most relaxed rules when you're doing international transactions. Money coming in, money going out is at a click of a button. No more papers, no FIRCs since you're in India. So we have Indian offices, I can understand FIRCs, filing, and then clearances. There's nothing like that. It is self-declaration. I declare, it is done. That's how the business is done here. So simple.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Vinay, and thanks, Vikas, for your question. Does anybody else have a question? Please turn your video on if you don't mind. That way we know that you're trying to say something, or you can use the chat box. So panelists, how about some final thoughts from you? Anything that you want to bring up at this point, or something that strikes you that you'd like to share with the audience?
We're talking about growth. We're talking about where to go, what location to pick. Echoing Vinay, US is not only, it's a mobile country. Also, I'm from the Valley, Silicon Valley here. I sort of grew up here. I think when you're looking to grow, it's an amazing place. It's an ecosystem of like-minded people. Failure is rewarded here. It's celebrated. And this is what teaches you is risk-taking culture is encouraged. I mean, that's when you're here, right? And the way we look at it, success is, not final, failure is not fatal, right? What matters is that you continue on. And that's really, if you're looking to move to US, and I will encourage you guys to come in here, you got to blend innovation, business skills, and this is the only place where mantra is not, it's not break, don't, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Here we challenge the status quo. We go on the top, when you're successful, we say, okay, we're going to break it, and we do it. There are not many countries that allow you to do that. People, countries, ecosystem. That's what I would encourage you guys to look at wherever you're planning to move. And that would be very, very important for you guys.
Yeah, and I'll add to that as a final pitch as to why this area. So again, proximity to government. If you have a company and you want to do work with the U.S. government, I think this place is one of the best places. Now, as Juhi mentioned, U.S. government still remains the largest buyer by far in the whole world. We're talking about $500 billion worth of business. One of the stats that is astounding is 25 billion of that comes to Fairfax County, or businesses based in Fairfax County. That's almost 5% of the US government spending. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's easy to do work with the US government. Just like any government, there's a lot of paperwork involved and all. But if you do happen to establish government as your customer, you're in for a very, very, very good ride. So that's the advantage of East Coast, specifically this area, with the proximity to DC.
This is Matthew. I'm with the Geosys. I have a question for the folks in California. I did hear someone with an engineering background and from the non-IT world. And I live in California and I'm in Virginia right now. So can you tell a little bit on why the IT used to be great in California, now it has moved out to East Coast? How is that impacted, and have you or other companies have considered moving to Fairfax County because of that?
So,
Rajiv, do you want to answer?
I can take a stab at it, but Rajiv, please go ahead.
I'm not really sure what to say. We still have less, negative unemployment here in California. We're constantly looking for engineers. I'm not sure how to answer that question. I think U.S. has tremendous amount of opportunities, not just Virginia. We are looking for alternate locations. We're capitalists, right? We're going to go build something where we can build it the cheapest, and we're going to sell it where we can sell it the highest, right? And that's, if we're going to Austin, we're going to Virginia, we're going over to Midwest, really it's because capital drivers and abundance of talent. I think those two things really drive us. And, supporting government, availability of tax benefits. Those are the things we look for. I really don't know, maybe I'm mistaken. California, Silicon Valley is thriving. We have we don't have people, to hire, essentially. I'll leave it at that. Manish, please.
Yeah, one of the reasons we are seeing a mass exodus towards the East Coast is definitely proximity to the government and the spending. If you look at it, Amazon just committed billions of dollars. Why? Because they want to win billions in contracts, and that can happen only with the US government. No private company is going to give you $1 billion contract out of the right. That it's the government. Microsoft just announced they're moving to, I believe, Fairfax County again. Google already has an office here. Again, another reason for this area, and I'm not trying to say Silicon Valley, it still remains at the highest level, right? We have 60 plus universities here. And that's what Juhi also touched, right? You need talent. We all own small businesses. We need to hire good people. And we have a giant like Amazon coming in and saying, you know what, we're hiring 100,000 people. The area is still thriving because we have 60 universities, out of which I believe 10 of them are ranked really high, churning out very good graduates, right? So a lot of that. And then not to say a lot of capital is flowing into the East Coast right now. Infrastructure has become very robust, and it has been recession proof. That's why,
And I appreciate the answers. And then again, I want to mention that to people in India that is how competitive they are here, that West Coast, East Coast. And so you should really consider one of the locations in India. Right, Juhi?
Absolutely. And in fact, when it comes to talent, that's one of the things that, and I think Rajiv, you mentioned that was the driving force for you. You know, where is the talent available? And we take it very seriously here at Fairfax County EDA as well. We have undertaken a talent initiative. We have a website dedicated to making employers and potential employees meet. It's called workinnorthernvirginia.com. And all we do is we try to connect. We've had 2 virtual career fairs sponsored by us completely, where collectively we had 1,700 candidates meet with 200 odd recruiters, from 30 companies combined. So at any given time, I mean, talent is available as are jobs, and that's what brings people to an area. So we are in the business of also attracting talent to our area because it's such a great place to live.
Yeah. And if I may add, Juhi, not only talent, but the universities are also investing like businesses in the East Coast. So Virginia Tech just announced a $1 billion innovation center, which will bring jobs, economic development, as well as it's going to churn out a lot of students. George Mason University, which is another very prominent university here, just announced $500 million in investment in building a center here. Again, brings economic development. So I agree with Muthu. It's the competition, right, that East Coast is trying to come up to. So
that's true, and also I think that's to add to all your point. That's one of the reasons why we also chose East Coast, because if you're from India and you say you're an IT company, then Silicon Valley is that's where everybody wants to, and that is how they associate you with. But then we chose to be part of East Coast because, yes, availability of talent. And we wanted skill sets that are not typical from out of factory. We wanted those cross skill sets in our team, and that's what access we have here. And yes, definitely, as Manish said, proximity to DC and government contracts and federal contracts. That's one of the things. And of course, the culture is good in the East Coast. I think that's another very, very important. If you're moving your business, it's not only business; it's the after business or the life that you what Juhi was mentioning earlier. That's also very important, and that's one of the things that we find it nice in the East Coast, and we really. So in terms of businesses, in terms of getting partners, and in terms of getting talent, in terms of, I mean, I think the weather is also very good. So it gives you a complete circle of every need that you have to run your business smoothly. I think that's one of the reasons why we also chose East Coast, because though there are a lot of IT companies in Silicon Valley, and IT means Silicon Valley for everyone, but then actual players are here. I think the rich businessmen are here, and they are the ones who we want to capture, right?
Well said, Rashmi, and I am very selfish. I'm going to end at that very positive note on East Coast and Fairfax County, and especially as it compares to California and Silicon Valley. And for participants here, a lot of times it's just that a lot of the information about this area is not known. Silicon Valley is famous; everybody knows it, but people don't know that we have enough, if not as much, to offer on the East Coast here in the DC metro area. So with that, and in the interest of time, I would like to thank all of the panelists from the bottom of my heart. You really shared, you made this event very composite, because you shared your experiences, and that added a lot of flavor to what we are trying to achieve today in terms of business growth and international expansion, and how they fit well with one another. So thank you to each and every one of you for participating. Thank you to all the participants for being here. I'm going to hand off now to my colleague, Dave Malik, who is going to close us out. Dave.
Yeah, hi. Firstly, a big thank you to all the speakers. It's been an honor to be among such accomplished individuals. A big thank you to TAI Chandigarh, big thank you to Mr. Munish, a big thank you to Mr. Devinder and the whole TAI Chandigarh team. You know, I heard a thing, and I totally can relate, correlate it here, that Chiteja Punjabi, Dhuma Pahir Indene. I hope everyone can understand Punjabi. Extending my thanks to all the attendees as well. Thanks for taking out time from your busy personal and professional schedules and patiently listening to everyone what they had to say. It was truly an enriching session, and I hope you guys felt the same way too. If you feel, as Juhi mentioned, the need to discuss in more detail, we are open to have one-to-one meetings between 30th and 31st July, as my screen shows, from 5:30 onwards IST. I left my coordinates, my WhatsApp coordinates, my mail coordinates. You can reach out directly to me on any of the numbers, and we can take it forward from there. And thanks once again. In the end, wishing you all success and safety wherever you are. Jithe bhi bas rahe ho, hasde vasde raho. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Davinder, any final thoughts from you?
Thank you so much, Juhi. I really appreciate all of the speakers, Mr. Manish, Mr. Vinay Johar, Mr. Rajiv Rai, and of course, the Fairfax County team, Dave Karan and Bina, and of course, you as well. So thank you so much for organizing this wonderful session. I'm sure our members will definitely bounce back at the time given by Dave. So I'm sure they have a lot of questions to ask, since majority of them have been answered through the session only. And if they have any more questions, they can feel free to reach out to Dave.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Have a good evening.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.